Welcome to Consistent Predictable Income Community. Today, I am joined with Jeremy Delk, and Jeremy and I are going to be talking about how to spot untapped markets before anybody else spots them. And Jeremy is he's a money guy, an investor, and a serial entrepreneur who has done a lot of different work, a lot of different businesses from real estate development to venture, capital venture and healthcare, consumer brands, technology, and just a whole bunch of different things. And he's joining me today from Lexington, Kentucky. Jeremy, welcome. How are you?
Doing good, Dan. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right. So tell us, Jeremy, before we get started, who are you and how long have you been that person? I know you've been that person since you've been a baby, but who
Uh,
are
there's,
you and like how did you become that person?
I've had a few iterations, I think. I'm a small town kid from Bardstown, Kentucky. So it's known as a bourbon capital of the world. So if you've ever had any Jim Beam or Maker's Mark, it's Willet. It's probably from someone I know or went to school with. But it's a small town, like 30 something thousand people, bigger now. But kind of growing up there, I always had this yearning desire to kind of want to do more, see more, and be more. So it actually led me to a short but pretty successful career on Wall Street, in Boston, then in New York. And then about 24 years ago, I went on my own and started Delk Enterprises. And it's a venture capital firm, or early stage startup stuff. You mentioned a couple of different industries. We're very much industry agnostic. We write checks in different sectors. The last 10 or 12 years has been predominantly in healthcare. So we've had, a lot of exits, taking companies public and private, tubing 500 companies, which we're really proud of. And, now I kind of spend most of my time doing these podcasts, kind of giving back a little bit. I'm an overnight success. It only took me 25 years, right? So like, uh, trying to share that message. We wrote a book a few years ago that did really, really well. And it kind of just tells like the good, bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship, right? And like it's a lonely place sometimes. So if I can save someone the heartache and all their hair falling out like mine, then God bless them, right? Well,
I
we're
think
in
you
good
and I are
company.
too late. We're too
Good,
late.
good. We're too late. So you're no hope, Dan, but hopefully one of the listeners can
I didn't read your book, damn it. What's the name of the book you were just mentioned?
so the book's called Without a Plan, a memoir of unbound action and failing my way to success. So
Yeah, overnight success, 25 years in the making.
exactly.
So tell me, how did you get into so you worked on Wall Street for a little bit and then you started your own thing.
Mhm.
Was the Wall Street just to go see the world, get out of Kentucky and
No, no. I mean, so backing up a step. So my dad died when I was young, 7, and I think that was like probably one of the first things that definitely fucked me slash shaped me, and I think used as a massive amount of strength today. But I had like 30 grand that I was going to get, an inheritance when I was like 18, right? So it was not a lot of money, but it was a lot from a small town kid.
for
And that was like,
18, that's a tremendous, yeah, it's like a
yeah,
fortune, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was in Disney and in a mutual fund. And my mom actually at 17, I started reading because I knew I wanted to go to New York. I had no idea how to get there. And I had to go to college and went to school in Providence. But I took that 30 grand. My mom let me kind of start trading it. So I was self-taught and I grew that 30,000 into $2 million in a couple of years, as a college freshman, which was pretty cool. What was less cool is, late 90s, if anyone remembers that time, early 2000s, the market was on fire until it wasn't. So that 2000 kind of crash, I was levered up on margin, which means I don't know if anyone knows what margin is, but you can use your equity value to buy more stock on loan. But when it goes up, you make a lot more. When it goes down, you go down a lot quicker. So I lost $2 million in 4 days, which
Oh,
wasn't
Jesus.
super super ideal. Um, but that was like the worst thing that ever happened to me, bar my dad leaving, bar my dad dying, and retrospectively today, I would say those two things are probably, why I'm who I am today. So I think there's a lot of, you know, lot to be said about things that happening to you versus for you, and like the perspective that you put on there and get them. But so that's how I ended up falling into Wall Street, is like after I, made it, I had a really passion with, the market and understood it. And that's what kind of got me there. What made me leave was, I was living in New York City in my early 20s, making, a few hundred grand a year. And the guy beside me, I was driving a BMW X5. They just came out, like, and, there'd never been a, sport utility vehicle, like a luxury car kind of thing. And I'd got brand new with that. I'm just like living the life. And the guy next to me, he had a Bentley, but we were doing the same shit. He was doing it, albeit at a different level, 40 years my senior. And I had like everyone, right? These young, dumb kids, right? We all have all these dreams and ideas. And I would take them, and I was working for Fidelity Investments, which is obviously a massive house, large institutional equities and stuff. And every idea I came up with, no matter what, at the end I was just making up shit, right? Fucking fairies and unicorn, like but every fucking idea I had was no kid, no kid, no kid, no kid. And so much, I mean, you hear me speaking, right? I don't sound like I'm from Kentucky. Like I even fucking changed my dialect. Like maybe I just sound like a fucking hillbilly, and that's why they don't like my ideas. But for me, and I think a lot of people, later in life agree, like corporate America is great for some, but I think it's where you go to fucking die. Like emotionally, that's where you kind of go to die. It turns out I'm a creative. I love, that 0 to 1 thing. Like that's why once I build the Inc. Fives, I kind of bring on management because I don't like that piece of just operating. That's cool, but I like to be creative and, zig when other people zag, and look at these other approaches to business and markets. So I bounced and just said, fuck it, I'm gonna leave. And the courage to do that, I think, was just from making a lot of mistakes, because most people, don't. I had a lot of things that were, I had two main things that happened. One, I was still young. I had cash. I bought a condo young before I went broke. So I actually made a lot of money. A lot of money, but a lot of money to me at the time. And I had no kids, no wife, no responsibilities. So like if it all fucking blew up, um, I can just go back to Wall Street. Second thing is, I ran down like, your SWOT analysis and like look at what if it works, right? Which I think so many people don't think about that question. Like, what if it does work? Everyone thinks about what if it doesn't work, but what if it does work? Like, I think that's a very important lens to look at. But on my what if it doesn't work thing, I sketched out, and nowhere was there a scenario where I was going to lose $2 million in 4 fucking days to get it, right? So I'm like, I've already got through that shit. So what's the worst that can happen? So that was kind of what gave me the courage to kind of branch out. And I made $7,000 my first year in business. My rent was 6,500 in Chelsea, so didn't really go far, but I had some savings, and yeah, it's been a fucking windy road since then, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
What was your biggest lesson from losing $2 million in 4 days?
Um, it was more of not like a tactical, like I mean, like there's obviously it would have been so easy not to lose it just by hedging and other stuff. I think the biggest true like life lesson would be twofold. One, be careful of like being a victim and like, things happening, saying, oh, why did this happen to me? Negative, like this happened to you or for you, right? I'm a big believer that things happen for you, and understand that you may not see the lesson for some time, and that's okay. Secondarily, you got to get the fuck over it, right? Because like that negative feeling, like, and I didn't. It took me 4 days. I was, waking up to Maria Bartiromo drinking Jägermeister and fucking until I fucking passed out. Like it wasn't a good time. But at some point, I realized, like, well, cool, fucko. Like, are you done? Like, and I just like so speed. So I still have feelings. I still like I have all that stuff. But like, once you realize that none of that shit's gonna fucking get you out of it or be productive, just go through it. So I'm not saying don't feel your emotions, feel them, but just like, cool, hurry up on that feeling piece and kind of get back at it.
So let's turn into like how to spot untapped markets, and like through your career, you you've invested in different companies in different sectors, that type of thing. So Walk me through your process of like how do you identify something that's worthy to invest in? What's the pros? What's the cons? What do you look at?
So, um, well, the untapped market thing, let's look at that for a second. It's because it's a bit of a misnomer, right? I think untapped markets don't necessarily have to be like, oh, let's come up and figure out a new market to sell, Pellegrino bottle caps. Like if
Sure.
you can do that, great. Like look at what Elon's doing with SpaceX and all that. If you have that big idea, that's great. But where I've made most of my money and successful is just doing things differently. You're a business coach, you do a lot of stuff, how to do sales and all this different piece. What's the, one constant in business, B2B, B2C? What's the one constant that is in any business?
Well, if you're looking at the constant, it's always going to be the first constant is going to be, do I have business? And then
Mhm.
once you have business, do I have the people and the systems to be able to serve the business? So it's going to depend on where they are in their business. And then after they learn that, then and am I effectively leading so I can
Mhm.
teach other people how to think. So it depends on sort of where you are in the business, but I'd say those are constant for businesses.
Yeah, for sure. But even simpler than that, like if it's a B2B, say how we fulfill diagnostic stuff for stuff, we have direct to consumer brands. Like there's always the no matter what, enterprise level, B2B, whatever, people are still doing business with people. And I think they people we forget that so
Fair,
fucking much.
fair.
That's number
Yeah.
one. Number two, I don't necessarily care. I'm aware of what's kind of going on within the market. If I'm going into this real estate sector or this, Pellegrino, but let's just pick on Pellegrino. I'm going into the sparkling water business. Um, I will I'm okay with being aware of what else is going on in the market, but I don't care. I do not care about competition. I don't care. I try to find like there's going to be a consumer, maybe it's Jeremy Delk, maybe it's Dan, that wants to buy this. Why do they want to buy? Like what is it? And really just kind of ripping apart and understanding that core component. And then that's when you're looking for niches to be able to kind of go through and serve and deliver in a different way. It doesn't always work, right? But kind of going into there, but you're usually onto something when you kind of go, hey, I'm going to go into this. And well, you can't really do that, kid, because this is how it's always been done. Like whenever you hear that, you're keep fucking digging because that's when you're on something. Because if an industry, it just happens and it just happens over time. And I've seen it within every industry. You become accustomed with these old standardized processes. Like, hey, that's just how it's always been done. It's a good old boys club. And it doesn't change until someone disrupts it. Travis Kalanick in fucking medallion taxi cabs in New York City. Like, that's always what it was. A taxi cab medallion was $300,000 to be able to drive. It's always that way. But what if there was another? So that's really the kind of points when you look at untapped markets. I think the markets are usually there and mature, especially if they're a big or a large TAM, like a total addressable market. That's the business you want to be in. And it could be a smaller niche within a regional area or your local area, what have you. But not always looking at what everyone else is doing. You're just going to copy, and you're going to be left behind because if you're doing that, the people that are innovating have already iterated and just haven't released their next iteration. Does that make sense?
You think it does? Do you think spotting opportunity is more instinct or pattern recognition or just pure hustle? What do you think?
Um, I so I think at first it was hustle, right? Because I had to fucking
Yeah.
pattern recognition. Today I think it is more. It probably is more pattern recognition because you can just kind of go through the pieces like this. Like I just try to cut through as many layers as possible, um, and focus, so obsessively on the customer, and the customer experience. Like that's the most important thing. Like I'm opening up a restaurant for my wife. Like let them like it's all that level of like that's true hospitality, but enterprise, multi-million dollar, software license deals, it's still two people. Like there's going to be you selling it and someone on the other side buying it and writing a contract on behalf of a bigger conglomerate, but that's it. And then have you solved that problem? And then have you given them enough, confidence and reassurance and feeling? Do they feel like, hey, Dan, Jeremy is going to be able to deliver for me? So I think it's now adapted into pattern recognition. So that's the first part of your question. The other piece, like, what do I invest in? Like, for if you guys, because sometimes people get really nervous raising money and kind of, okay, what do I do? And then they also have this And I did too. So don't like when I'm saying this, don't like think I'm like whatever. I had this when I was younger, like, oh, he's got a venture capital firm, or oh, he's very wealthy. And like, well, he has all the answers. Bro, if I had all the answers, I wouldn't have got my ass kicked this many fucking times. Like, I got answers, but it's from fucking on the job training.
Yeah. Getting
So
hit in the nose
but
too many times, right?
yeah. But then so then because they put this PE group or this venture capital guy, this other guy, this angel investor, all of which I am. Um, they go and say, "Oh, well, this guy is all knowing. I need to be like him in order for him to kind of go through." So they come in and like, Dan, here's my business. We're selling Pellegrino as one thing, and I've got a derivative spin out product, which are bottle caps, and like, I've got it. Cool. A lot, and especially on younger investors, right? They know all the answers. There is no risk. They're not scared of anything, and it's kind of going through. So in that scenario, one or both of these is always true. They're either just lying completely, or two, they're not intelligent enough to know what they don't know. Both of them will disqualify them for me to invest in them. I love
Sure.
to invest in people that have been in cycles and like have like, you know, went bust. I mean, bankruptcy, maybe not, but like went bust or had a failure and kind of going through it because that's where you learn those lessons. That's number one. So being vulnerable and like I curse and I yell, but I'm a pretty nice guy and people like me because I am who I am. Like people love me, people don't love me, but it's fine. Like I'm my authentic self. When you can be that and be vulnerable with someone, it builds rapport really quickly, right? I don't want to invest in you and find out you're just a scammer or you lied to me or whatever. So by you being vulnerable, even if I don't invest in you, like, wow, like you're a stand-up guy and like, hey, I'm not a good fit because I'm not a good partner or it's not in my thesis, but hey, go talk to these guys. I would often do that. More importantly, it cuts through the bullshit of if I can help them or not. Because like now, if I'm Dan, I'm selling you the Pellegrino and the bottle cap spinoff. If I say, Dan, I can sell ice to an Eskimo, I can do like I'm it. I've got the better value prop. We've got better pricing, better value, everything. I haven't balanced my checkbook in 14 years, and I suck at numbers. So many people are scared to say that, or I'm scared of sales and marketing, or I have no idea to do that. Fucking great.
Just be
Good.
transparent about you about the reality of it.
Well, and also because that helps me because now I know, like, cool, not only do I have money, and like often when I invest, I'm, giving cash, but it's shared services because I've got finance, I've got marketing, I've got legal, I've got those other things. So, okay, Dan, you're a gun at this because no one's perfect. I'm not, I don't know. I'm not like all these Inc. 500 companies. It's not Jeremy Delk. It's 200 other fucking people that built them with me, right?
Sure.
And that team. So I know what I'm good at and know what I'm not good at. I know what I like to do, what I don't like to do. So if you can go through and like get to that point really quick, like, hey, I've got all these things, but dude, this is what's keeping me up at night. If if we don't have this execution or that, I'm at a loss. Well, okay, now let's go to battle together. Maybe I can help you, or maybe I can't help you. I've got a business that can, or I've got another buddy investor can. So that gets to a deal much quicker. It gets to a solution because you don't have to invest and wait 6 months for them to have a mess up and be like, hey, I'm really kind of struggling. So it's a hard concept to get around when you put these on. But I've been in the rooms, man, whether it's Monaco Grand Prix weekend, or I mean, I've been the billionaires. I've all the friend. I know that world. Everyone is just the same, man. They just had different experiences, and like, that's it. I think once you start putting people on, I expect Musk. Musk is of another level. He's out there. He's I don't know, old Rockefeller or something. I don't know. Musk is the only anomaly to this. Um, but yeah, I think that's the key. So once you can understand that people are just people from, hey, how I'm serving them
What
and sales,
makes what
but also how
I,
I'm doing that.
what makes Musk an anomaly, in your
Oh, I
opinion?
mean, I think he is like, I don't know, not from this world. He's like so he's just so advanced. I think with
Yeah.
yeah, he's like what he's gonna do, two, four with whatever our world. I mean, just think about look at what's happening now. I mean, with this robo taxi stuff, and then with Optimus, these robots, and like like what he's doing, like in space. I mean, the kid. I mean, he's had some failures, but dude, I mean, it's his focus isn't like he's not doing this for more money, right? I mean, look at Bezos. Bezos built a fucking hell of a business. He's killing it. He's playing in space and doing it, dude. Like, there's no catching Musk at all ever, and he doesn't get like I saw him do an interview the other day. Like with Robotaxi, Tesla could be worth $5 trillion. I mean, you're getting to a point where money, what the fuck even, how does that even matter? Like money doesn't even, it doesn't even compute into the ethos. He's doing this on this mission driven purpose for humanity. It's just, again, the only person I could maybe equivalent to is like, way before our time, right? Like the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, like that type of incestuous, wrong word, that intense like amount of, just nonstop creative vision, create, and yeah.
Well, you mentioned failure a couple times. What's one failed market attempt that you thought was going to crush it, and what was that, and what did it teach you that did not crush it?
Um, oh, I mean, one failed market. I mean, I've had like, I mean, I turned down 600 million bucks for a business because I was making about $1 million a month. And like, I mean, I was already rich, and for me, I thought at the time that was going to be my first opportunity to hit 1 billion, right? So, and we were on a rocket ship like that. So, if I happily turned down 600 million bucks because I knew that a year from now they'd come back at 1 billion. Um, I think it's in my book, and I like documented all this. So like, 'cause some of this is not believable. Like I documented the email, like, and there's
Hmm.
like timestamp of me saying like, hey, listen, let's just table it, park ways, and reassess. And then it was either 3, 4, 5, 7 days later, um, that business was raided by the feds. All kinds of seizure stuff. It's still around. The business is still around. I sold it for a lot less than 600 million. Cost me a couple $1 million in fines. Um, and I think maybe you could even weave that into the $2 million loss. I talked to you about like over like that mindset component. But the other lesson is when you start to kind of feel like you have it all figured out and you can't learn anymore, probably look in the mirror because like I basically repeated the 2 million when I was a kid and lost that. You couldn't tell me anything, man. I'm trading stocks on my Palm Pilot wirelessly on my Ameritrade account. And, I couldn't listen to a professor making 50 grand a year when I was making that during his class on a trade, right?
Sure.
And I was unteachable. Now I love learning. I love kind of going through. I love doing deals. I love podcasts because I like meeting people. I like looking at things. I consume it and it's therapeutic for me. In that tailor-made, that was the pharmacy piece. In that business, um, I got cocky. Well, I am cocky. Let's just say I am cocky. I
Your
got real
cockiness
fucking
came
cocky.
out.
Cocky is real. Exactly, exactly. Um, so yeah, man. But look, that's life should give you limit. Like, but again, that lens is that the worst thing that I lost. I didn't take 600 million bucks, but if I didn't, if I didn't do that, this is why how kind of comes through, and you had to have time be your friend sometimes.
Yeah.
We had the idea for this biological aging business, which is True Diagnostic. I don't know if you've heard of Biological Age or Brian Johnson or any of those guys. Like that's us. That's our company. I had bought the equipment that's in our lab. I'll just give you a quick thing. I bought this equipment that's uh, in our lab now for 1,200,000 in cash a year prior. So it was just another idea, another kind of hobbyist approach. Let me show you. That's the equipment. This is our lab where we're doing all the
All right,
biological.
what am I looking at here?
A couple $1 million worth of equipment. That's where we're
Okay.
looking at DNA methylation to be able to tell how you are cellularly. So I'm 45 chronologically, like per calendars. I'm 43 biologically, so cellularly. So we're looking at that piece. But I only show you that because that equipment was in my fucking warehouse collecting dust because it was a distraction. I was like, dude, I was like, okay, it's $1 million. Okay, cool. Whatever. I'll just make it back next month. All of that shit that happened is what kind of made, oh, well, fuck, maybe I should, let's look at that equipment now, kind of going through. And then now it's the second E500 company that I've built and we'll see what happens with it. But you can look at it from a different lens. Wow, look at all of my bad luck. This kid lost 2 million bucks. Oh, I didn't take 600. I could laugh up and be the biggest victim you've ever seen. Or that resulted in this. And it usually works. And humans are, not to get too like psychobabble on you, but humans are pretty, evolved species, right? We don't like fucking pain. We don't like sadness. You go to a funeral, like you're sad, you see them go down, and then like a couple days later, you're kind of good. We block out all the bad shit for the most part, just natural. And I'm not saying that you should live in the rear view, but you kind of got to know where the fuck you came from to know who you are to know where you're going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and what I hear you saying is, well, the reality of this is it gets a whole hell of a lot easier to live your life in hindsight than it does in the moment. And you can look backwards and be like, yeah, like I've learned so much, and I would do this action or that action, once you've already had the experience, which is, I think, what you said earlier about like when you're investing in somebody, where you'd rather invest in with somebody that's already, taken some shots and maybe had some setbacks, and rather than that young, ambitious, like thought like I'm never gonna fail, but rather somebody that's already been through the trenches. Am I tracking with you?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So what would you say to yourself? So you're 45 today. What would you say to your 25-year-old Jeremy?
Um,
What advice would you give yourself?
yeah, and I say this to my clients too, like I coach, like just get started and just keep going forward, right? Just keep pushing through and take one more step. Like just take one more step. Like, don't give up, don't throw in, like take one more step, one more try. Like you can look at a business like, hey, I mean, some businesses don't work. I mean, I'm in venture capital, right? Most of them don't work. So I'm not saying like, hey, if I'm gonna only do this little, this business forever and ever, ever, no matter what, like that's not what I'm saying. But if you want to be
Hmm.
an entrepreneur, you want to be a business, or you want to go through and be a coach or serve your community, whatever it is that you want to do, just keep going and taking one step and look at the obstacles that come up or in the the things that happen to slash for you as a learning experience or a learning opportunity to kind of grow from and use on the next adventure.
How do you personally separate a smart risk from a reckless one? How do you analyze that?
Um, well, I think the easy way would be like when I started out early, I was doubling down on everything, right? Like I would go
Hmm.
and make it when I would just put it all back in. Um, I don't know if that was smart or dumb. It was probably was still reckless, but it was calculated. It was calculated in the fact that fuck it, what happens? And that was probably from, because I lost a 2 million and I didn't die, right? I think that's probably where that came from. Um, and that's more on money size versus net worth size. I was just putting it all back in, and that's how I grow. A guy told me when I was early in business that I didn't deserve to have any money in the bank until I was 30 years old. I thought that was a dick thing to say, but what he was saying is like you should just be betting everything. Just fucking go fucking all in because you don't have a real life yet, right? You're just fucking just go all in. So when you get married, kids, you have other people that are depending on you. Like that's the difference. So now I'm not doubling, I'm not putting everything I've got into one thing. I'm like obviously I'm diversified into different stuff. Um, and a lot of this is just has been gut. Like, if it's too good to be true, like I got an opportunity, like I get pitch deals all the time. I got pitched some trucking conglomerate deal that I mean was kicking off like you buy a truck and it was like a lease back and you get all this kind of interest. I'm like, dude, like this is a fucking Ponzi scheme, man. And the guy knows it. The guy, and I've gotten caught in one already. So like I'm fucking a pro. I'm like, but even then, like fuck, like because the guy that is in it, who brought me the deal is like a sophisticated investor. Like he knows what like so it's not like he's like some jackleg guy on the internet. So I actually know him. He was doing it for a year, and that's why these Ponzi schemes work, because that's usually how they go through. They start, they pay, and then going through. And I'm like, fuck. And I almost did it. I almost fucking took a flyer. I almost put 100 grand in it. Just like, fuck it. Like, what I mean? Like that to me, it's worth the bet. I didn't have that much on Derby, but a little bit close. So like, fuck it. It won't be the end of the world. And whatever happened, I said, nah, whatever. I think he was going to Dubai and then whatever. Literally text me yesterday, like, hey, give me a call. Um, and I missed him. He called me today, I leaving the gym. And he said, well, I guess you were right. And I'm like, fuck. So you dodged it. So if it's too good to be true, it usually always is. Um, that definitely checks
What's
out.
your what's your ratio of pitches versus investing into something?
Uh, 1 in 100.
1 in 100.
Yeah. There's just so much shit out there. It hasn't always been that bad, but it gets there.
Why is it worse now than it was in the past? Is that just because you get more pitches at you? Is it because something's changed? Or tell me about that.
No, I mean, I say this and get shit for all the time. Like, I love Cuban and Damon and all those guys, but like Shark Tank is great TV, but I don't believe entrepreneurship is for everyone. I just don't. Like, I don't think you can make
Probably
an
not for
entrepreneur.
most. Yeah.
No, you're built and you're fucked up and you love masochism and getting beat up and like that's just like I think you're a different species. But
Yeah.
there's all these ideas of like, hey, I want to start my business and I've got an idea and I can make good coffee, so let's start a coffee business. Like some things just aren't investable. But throwing that out there, so what that's done is created a big vacuum of deals and all this other stuff, and then even for like real entrepreneurs, you get these kind of um, crazy, you know, valuations. Like I got one the other day for a mobile, gas business, which nothing novel about it. There's a ton of people doing it. He literally started the business a month ago, has an LLC and um, $3 million at like, not even on valuation. Like, just like it's silly, it's dumb deal. They don't even they're not real, right? So a lot of that's just noise that actually never. So when I say I don't ever look at those, but those come through my piece. My team sorts them, so I'm looking at not 100 of those, but that's the most of it. And then
You're
you
filtering 100 and then a certain amount of those 100 get to you and then
yeah,
and
five
then
or ten
those
get to me, 5 or 10
five or
get to me.
10 and then of the 5 or 10 then there's one out of the 5 or 10
Yeah,
once it gets to you. Is that
correct,
right?
correct.
How do you know it's investable? I mean, is there, I mean, besides the numbers, besides the experience, besides is this a viable product, what else would you be looking for?
Um, it's usually well, now it's different now, but for me now, do I believe in, the product, service, or problem, right? Like, is that something that is important that I think needs to be solved, or like is an interesting approach, right? That's is it interesting to me? Um, that's one. And I also buy boring businesses like that just print off cash flow. Like that, I do look at those, but that's just like that's a math game. I could give a fuck what color building is. That just only a spreadsheet. Never have to go there. But if it's
Sure.
like a true venture stuff, it's usually, does it excite me? Is this a cool big project? Does it have a big opportunity? That type of stuff. That's one. Um, Second criteria is like, can I help? Right? Because sometimes I'm really like, is it a healthcare thing, or is it like something I've been in, or I know people in that industry, because I like to add value. I don't want to be dumb money, and like dumb money I classify as just like doctor lawyer money that's just writing checks. I would like to write a check, but have a seat at the board, be able to kind of help management kind of go through these pieces. Like that's the real value that you get with me writing a check. Um, and three, if you check those boxes, the only thing that matters is the leadership and the team. That's it. The
Yeah.
rest of the shit's
The
fucking can
people.
be fixed. That's all the people.
Got it.
Best
It's all
business,
about
best
people.
concept, fucking scumbag team, fucking couldn't best deal won't do it because it won't last.
Got it. What's next for you, Jeremy?
Man, business wise, like I said, we got a couple of big bets in this diagnostic space. Enjoying family, got a bunch of kids, and spending time with family and doing this kind of giving back. I love having these conversations. I love meeting kind of new people, and yeah, I'm a deal junkie. I love talking, helping people, kind of going through. And it's if you're an entrepreneur, you like problem solving, because as an entrepreneur, you get all the fucking problems. Like that's what was that? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Like that's what you get. So for me, like that's why I love the coaching component of it, because I actually love just fixing it, and like it looks like magic to them because like, wow, how do you see that? I've seen it because I probably had a similar scenario and I kind of worked myself out, but it's that's so fulfilling. Yeah, the money like helps keep my wife in all of her bags and shoes and shit. But for me, like I love the like cool. And then like the amount of value and seeing that impact and like them having those breakthroughs, that's pretty cool stuff, man. And like my
Do
kids
you
aren't old enough to help them yet. So I guess I'll do that until they're ready.
do you look at it like a game?
Fuck yeah. It's all a
Yeah.
game. So it's
Yeah.
literally it's like and truly like we didn't get into this stuff, but um like you want to scale your business, you want to sell your business, all that shit I can do in my sleep. A lot of the stuff I do on coaching is more of like, what's your why? Like, why are you doing this stuff? Because I had like a lot of problems with that. And like almost like imposter syndrome, kind of like you have all of this shit and you get the cars, the watches, the fucking play, you get all that stuff. And then at some point you're like, what the fuck am I doing this? Then like you struggle with like I struggle. I don't say you, like I personally struggle with like the spirituality component of it and like what am I doing? And like what I've come to grips with is um, it's okay. Like, but it can't define me. Like I like to win and I like to, you know, winning sometimes comes with the dollars and that's like the scoreboard. So that's fun, but it doesn't define me. It's something I'm good at that I enjoy doing, but it doesn't define me. At a point it did. At some point it did define me, but not anymore.
Yeah, I've gone through ebbs and flows in my life like that as well, where my identity was very, very tied up in business at times
Yeah.
and very tied up into playing the game and winning,
Yeah.
right? Because for me it's about it's about having success. The money comes after the success, right? Like yeah, money's a byproduct, and it is the purpose of a business is to be for profit.
Mhm.
Yet when you focus on how do I make things work, how do I solve problems, how do I help people achieve their goals, then the money just sort of naturally comes, or at least, their opportunity for it comes.
Yeah, for sure.
How can someone get in touch with you, Jeremy?
I'm Jeremy S. Delk on all socials. And that's the easiest way. Delk Enterprise is my website. And yeah, reach out. Love to schedule a call, a strategy call, learn about your business and anything I can do to help out. And there's the thing I've scaled all these businesses with that one page plan. You can get that on jeremydelk.com for free and just download that. And it's a great tool that kind of literally gets everyone on the same page. And it's your business plan on one sheet of paper. It's covering like revenue growth, productivity, innovation, client success, right? We call it, well, we have a great place to work and, just, client, customer delight. So are we delighting our customers and having great experiences?
Love it, Jeremy. Thank you so much for your time today. Viewers and listeners, thank you for your time. Have the best day of your life. Be grateful, make good choices, go help somebody, and God bless you. Thank you.
Cheers.